All right, guys, on to lesson 4, analyzing with standard deviation. So kind of continuation of standard deviation here, and more like what does it mean and like how can we use it. All right, so we're just going to start with an example. Given Fred has a mean of 20, he's a basketball player, mean of 20 points every game. This is average, and a standard deviation of 3 points. Okay, means he scores 20 on average, and then on average he's about 3 off from that. So he might score 17, 23, but he'll score 20 sometimes, but generally he's around 3 or so away from 20. Okay, that's kind of what that's telling you. Okay, so here's the question. What score is 1 standard deviation above the mean? And that's actually a pretty easy question. Okay, what score is 1 standard deviation above the mean? Take your mean, go 1 standard deviation above, so add on 1 standard deviation, we're talking 23. Okay, that's easy. Another question, what score is 1 standard deviation below the mean? All right, that's easy too. So we take our mean and we say, hey, it's 1 standard deviation below, so I'm going to take it and subtract it. So 17, that's 1 standard deviation below 20. It's 3 below 20. And then the other thing is something like this. They'll say something like, what score is 2 standard deviations above the mean? Okay, now so I take my mean and I say, okay, 2 standard deviations above. So to go take my standard deviation and add it on twice. Okay, 26. All right, you go 3 standard deviations, 4 standard deviations, whatever. Each standard deviation is 3. All right, that's pretty easy. So here's another thing. Here's a common way to analyze the data. If a data point is more than 3 standard deviations above the mean, it is an outlier. Okay, it's a way to calculate outliers. We did it with IQR. This is a different way to calculate it. This is a more common probably way. It's an outlier. So we say, okay, it's 3 standard deviations. So we say 20, and we're going to add on 3 times, right? For 3 standard deviations, we're up to 29. So any data point above 29 is an outlier. So the question will be like, hey, if Fred, okay, if Fred scores 32 points in a game, is that an outlier? Well, yeah, so above 29. If he scores 29, is that? Well, no. Well, that's right on the edge. It's not above. If he scores 28, no. But if he scores 30, 32, 50 points, those are outliers. Okay, so that's something you need to know on outliers. And then the last thing, guys, is again, you're going to do some calculating. There's, I think, one problem where you got to calculate it out. Okay, so it'll say there's a data set. Four, 5, 5, 6, 6, 8, 9, 9, 12, 16. Okay. And the question will be something like this. What data is within 1 standard deviation of the mean? Okay. So let's find our mean first. Number 1, find the mean. We got to go through those steps again like we did on the last assignment. Mu, is that u? I calculated out already. Came out to 80 over 10 is 8. All right. List out your data. Remember these steps? Shouldn't have made this data set so big. I don't know why I did that. Sorry if you couldn't see that. Got your data. What data is within 1 standard deviation of the mean? Okay, 4, 5, 5, 6, 6, 8, 9, 9, 12, 16. Remember we did step number 3 was we subtract mu. So we did x minus mu. So I'm going to do minus 8 on each of these. I'll save you the work. I'll just work it out quick. 0 here, right? 8 minus 8. 1, 1, 4, 8. Square them. 16, 9, 9, 4, 4, 0, 1, 1, 16, 36. That was step 4, square. Step number 5 was add them. I did this already, guys. Got 106. Hopefully my math is right. And then our last step was, remember we divided by how many data points there were and took a square root. So 106 divided by 10 data points and square root it. So square root of 10.6, I got 3.3. Okay, so the question is, what data is within 1 standard deviation of the mean? Okay, so our mean is 8. Our standard deviation is 3.3. So I'll say, well, let's go one above. So 8 plus 3.3, 11.3. That's 1 standard deviation above the mean. What's 1 standard deviation below the mean? 3.3 subtracted from 8 is 4.7, right? 4.7. Okay, so the question is, what data is between 4.7 and 11.3? Okay, so go back up to your list of data and we'll list them out. 5 is between 4.7. I'm looking at my list of data here. 5 is between 5, the other 5 obviously. 6's are between the 2 6's. The 8 and the 9's, right? So this is the data. 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 of those data points out of the 10 are within 1 standard deviation of the mean, okay? Because they're less than, 1 standard deviation away from that mean of 8, okay? There's one question I think on your homework where you got to work all that out. If you have questions, guys, you got to just get a hold of me. Call me. Set up a Google meeting with me. Make sure you're showing all your work out clearly and taking a nice picture of it. It'll make my life a lot easier. All right, thanks.